right? Okay, so are we ready for Ryan, or should we go to policy updates first?
What do you want to do, Jill?
I'm good. I'm good for you to go if you're on. And okay, Alex has got the financial review he'll pull up.
Okay.
So if you're ready.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, it says my internet connection is unstable, so I might have to pop in with one of you two if we'll try and get through it though. I think it'll be all right. Okay, Alex, do you want to pull up the? Can you hear me? Okay.
It's up.
Okay, Alex, do you want to pull up the FY21 financial review?
Yeah, I got it up there. Is it not?
Yeah, it's up.
It's on.
Oh, for some reason it's not showing on mine. My computer's, it's super slow. See, this is what I got. Oh.
Sorry, guys. I'm not sure why we're having technical problems all of a sudden. Could be in connection with Alex's
Sure.
computer, but I don't know.
You can even drive. I'll stand right here. Okay. Okay. So I'm at Alex's place now. His is much better than mine over there. Okay. So just kind of a review of FY21. It was a good year for Fast Forward overall financially. And of course, Jill can tell you all about the successes that we had in the classroom, which were many, but this is just kind of the same format. I think hopefully you were able to receive it earlier in the day this morning so you could review some of these things, but I'll just be hitting some of the highlights here. So for the fiscal year of FY21, which we are now through, and we just started the first 2 months of FY22, total actual revenues were about $2.7 million versus a budget of 2.6. So we had about $101,000 of excess. Of course, as usual, in restricted SPED, we had restricted SPED revenues of about 212,000, which I've attached a separate budget for that. CAPSA was 63,000. We received a little over $1.1 million in regular K through 12, and then about $643,000 in charter school local replacement, which is really our two biggest funding lines. CTE funding 107,000, which we're actually have a CTE review coming up this year. So I've attached the CTE profit and loss by class so that you can kind of look at that as well. And then trust lands and then national school lunch. So those are some of our main restricted funds that I just kind of hit there. The rest of them are more what we would consider non-restrictive funds, or we can use those for general purposes, which we do. That would be like our two main funds, which is K through 12, and then also our local replacement dollars, which we do use to pay for some of our facility costs. Total expenses for July through June were $2.6 million versus a budget expense of 2.5. Consequently, net income was about 71,000 versus budget. Oh, that's okay. I found it. Yeah. So versus a budget of about 4,000, so variance of about $67,000 there. In FY21, we spent approximately 90% of our final approved budget. Remember, we came back in our June board meeting and had a higher number, so $2.9 million, which we put depreciation into that number. So we'll be well within the compliance piece that we need there for our budget. Just because we come back, it looks like we were about 2.6, maybe a little bit over that after we convert it to GAAP. This I'll get to this in a minute, but this also reflects on our financial statements for the first time this year, as charter schools now have moved to GASB which is governmental accounting standards. They finally decided that charter schools needed to follow that, which we followed it all along, but our audit will reflect that. But it'll be mainly in our employee benefits, but just for the purposes of actual cash that we went out the door, we had about $505,000 of benefits versus about $455,000 for that we had budgeted. Most other wages and benefits were in line with our approved budget. And then you can see what we paid CAPSA, counselor, and then also for our secretary and our principal there. Utilities, 36,000, which isn't a lot, or 38 versus about 37,000. And then again, some of these things have been in there just as a reminder. We've paid for our gym floor, so not a lot of capital expenses of about $18,000. We paid off about $57,000 in mortgage principal this year. And then you can see what our current balance is on our mortgage and kind of what we've paid off since the inception of that mortgage. Cash at the end of June was $536,000. Cash at the end of May was $458,000. The payable and then the payroll liabilities, which is about $39,937. So any questions? Those are some of the highlights. Again, the backups. The backup, thanks, that's better. The backups there behind it, if you ever want to, I would encourage you to look at that. It's just the profit and loss 2020 through June of 2021. I will have you know that this statement has been audited now. So we just completed our audit. And I'll talk about that. I think that's like the next line item. So I'll wait for the next item on the agenda to come up when we'll talk about our audit and some things that you need to be aware of there. So cash balances for the last 6 months, you can see we've been pretty even there. We did get some reimbursements there at the end of June. So you can see that our cash position did increase towards the end of the school year up to about $536,000. Just a history of kind of our head count. Just wanted to give you 3 years there, and then you can kind of see what our head count at the school is as of today, which is really a strong number. So we're really glad to see that. That's a really strong number for us, especially at this point where we still have a month to enroll kids until October 1 count. So that's great. You can see our total budget expenditures there, what our budget was and what our actual expenses were. And then this is just kind of the backup for what we just talked about. And the revenues, you can see there, the 2.7 versus the 2.6, and then the expenses. We kind of break that down as much as we can, but you can see probably our biggest expense line item, obviously, is in our salaries for our teachers, which is about $900, almost $1 million a year. And then of course, employee benefits, which is another $500,000. So workers' comp, you can just kind of go through there and see what we have. And again, we try to give as much detail. Some of these items actually will maybe consolidate over the next year so that we're more in line with what the state wants it to have chart of accounts. The problem with that is I don't think it gives as much detail as I would like to actually provide the board. So maybe we'll try and consolidate that in a better way that you can actually understand it. Again, these are just kind of going down through our full financial statement. You can see our interest on our mortgage and then what we paid in principal reduction. And then you can see our total net income there at the end of the year was $71,353 versus a budget of $4,000 for $67,000 over. Balance sheet as of June 30th, 2021 is, you can see our cash position. Then you can see some of the receivables that we still have, which is good. So we have $536 in cash, and then we have another $115,000 in receivable, which we should be getting shortly. So really our cash position should increase again in the next couple months, which will be good as we turn that receivable into a cash position. Accrued salaries and withholdings, this $177,000 and this $10,000 here. This is just what we pay in salaries to our teachers for July and August of this year. So, but we have to show that as a liability on our balance sheet. And then $71,000 is our net income that ties out to the balance sheet. Okay, any questions on any of that before I kind of zip through this profit and loss by class?
No, but one question I have, Ryan, do
Yeah.
we have an audit? Are we supposed to have an audit committee?
Yeah, we do. And I think we formed one at one time. I don't think we're not meeting on a regular basis, and we probably should. I think that at one point you were on it, Lynn, and I think we had one other member, but I couldn't remember who it was. Do you remember, Lynn?
Yeah, I just know that I thought at one time I was. I'm on the audit committee with Logan Cities, and we usually meet just before the audit comes, and then at the completion that we always have an audit. They kind of go through everything and stuff.
Yeah.
So I just wondered.
No, that's a good idea, and we should do that. I know, at one point, and this has been a while, we were meeting just, I think, before board meetings, just for like 30
Okay.
minutes. And we can
Yeah.
certainly start doing that if we think that that's a good, I would suggest that, because I know you're actually on ours, and you
Yeah,
probably have some pretty good insight on some things.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea,
Okay,
but I'm still happy to do that. So
good.
So
Maybe we
Ryan,
can-
you guys would basically meet then, if you met before, would you meet in June? At our June board meeting?
Well, no, well, we wouldn't need to meet, I guess, before every board meeting, Lynn, but maybe, I mean, but when we're only
No.
meeting 3 or 4 times a year, maybe we should meet and we can.
Well,
get
we
heads up,
only
but-
meet, twice a year for Logan.
Oh,
Just before the audit starts, they just the auditors tell us what they're gonna go through and everything, any new changes or updates they got to keep track of. And then when the audit's finished, before they present it to the board. Oh. Anyway,
okay. Yeah, no, that's a good idea. We can do that. We usually have our audits in August of every year. That's very typical for
Yeah.
us. And then they'll release it sometime in October or November-ish. It's
yeah,
typically
I think
November.
they have to have it done by November.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. We could
So-
even do that on a Zoom meeting if that,
Yeah.
previous.
Let's do that as soon as, let's start this year, and before we can I can set up a meeting with the auditors, or
Okay.
before we present it to the board, you and I can discuss it together.
All right.
Okay,
That'd
I'll
be
plan on
fine.
that. Thanks for that.
Okay. You bet.
Any
Thank
other
you.
questions?
Hey, Ryan, you mentioned that the format of this report may change slightly in order to accommodate recommendations from the state.
Well, the format of this report won't change. The format of our audit will, and there's one significant change in that. And that when we went to GASB, when they convert our books to governmental accounting now, we're gonna have to show the liability from the State Risk Management Fund. Now, this doesn't come, Lynn will be familiar with this because he's been on the
Yeah.
Logan School Board for so long. But now they're finally making charter schools do the same, making sure that their financial statements basically are the same as what the districts are in the state. So correct me, Lynn, you've been through this more than I, and I'm just kind of, going through this now, but we have to, because we're in the state retirement fund, this one issue
Yes.
revolves exactly around the state retirement fund. And
Yes.
so we pay into the state retirement fund, and then we're done with our portion of that liability, right? So as soon as we pay the funds to them, we're done with that. But we have to show and the state retirement they have some calculation that they do, and I don't even know how they calculate it. And then they actually give this number to our auditors for us. So it's not even something that they get from us. But we have to essentially show on our books the portion of the liability that the state of Utah has between what their promised benefits are, their future promises that they have to people that are currently in the state retirement system versus the assets that they have to cover that. And Utah's a pretty well managed state as far as pensions go, but we still have a deficit in the amount of assets that we have to cover the promises in essence that we've given out. So meaning fast forward Charter High School, now has to account for that portion of what our deficit would be. So you'll actually, in a lot of ways, it's not going to make our financials look good, because we're showing a huge loss that's coming from the state retirement system that we're never going to have. They could never come back to us and say, you actually owe this to your employees. Is that right, Lynn? Is that the way it's been
That's
explained to you?
correct. But you have to show it that one time, and it does. I know we went through it, I think about 6 years ago, maybe something like that, 7, when we started on the GASB. So I know that was a time when it showed, we had quite a healthy loss, it showed it, but so you had to carry that, but you didn't really have to worry about owing it. It's kind of like just You just have to show it on your accounting. And so it's kind of a, I don't know, it's kind of a dumb thing, but
I couldn't.
I guess I'll put it that way.
Yeah, and I would concur with that, and I don't think I need to add anything to that because it's kind of a dumb thing. I think that sums it up pretty
Yeah.
well.
Somebody had a nightmare, and I don't know.
It's
That's
crazy.
kind of the way we looked at it.
Yeah. So when you see that on the financial, as a reader of the financial statement, and we'll actually have our auditors probably come in this year and kind of explain that portion of it, just so that it's not too confusing. But just know that when we show that as a liability, it's not really a liability, if that makes sense. Governmental accounting is complex in a lot of ways, and you know, you can make the article, oh well, okay, so we bought this building 20 years ago. And what about the increase in the value in that? Well, they won't let you show that as an asset. So not only do you have to show a liability that's not a true liability, but you can't show an asset that is a true asset. So you just kind of say, oh, what world are we living in here?
So in other words, don't panic when you see it.
That's right. It's kind of a dumb thing, right, Lynn?
Yep.
Anyway, these are our P&L by class. So this is the big one, 1205 SPED. This was actually audited this year. And they audited a lot because a lot of schools have kind of gotten in trouble with special ed funding, but we track ours pretty closely. You can see we received about 233,000 there, but then you can kind of see where we spent all of those dollars, and our auditors come through that pretty thoroughly. So you can see that we don't have any carryover in SPED funding. We do spend all of our SPED funding every year in legitimate. I mean, we have a great SPED team up here. I think that's pretty well documented.
Yeah.
At risk, we received 38 and we spent all of that. Trust lands, we received about 42,000, and you can see we have a zero carryover there. This was the Educator 19 COVID stipend that we received about 43. Let's see, we received about $50,000 there, and we spent all of that on where it needed to go. Educator salary adjustment about $108,000, and we spent all of that. CTE, this is another big one. You can see about $177,000 there, and then you can kind of see where we spent those funds. We don't have any carryover CTE funds. You can see the net income, there's zero on all of these.
You're good at
Title I, 48,000 we received, and you can again see that we spent that on a teacher, and we have a zero net income, so there's no carryover funds there. This is our federal IDEA SPED. We received about 20,000, and we don't have any net income there. And then this last one is just our state allotment memo for our 13th period. This is our total final allotment memo from the state of Utah for the funding for the FY21 year. And then you can kind of go through that as well if you'd like, but that just kind of shows the different programs. You can see there's a lot of programs that we have to account for. There's a lot of them. But that's just kind of ties out. You can tie that out to our income statement if you'd like, if you're really bored. Anyway, that's the financial report. Any questions on any of that?
Nope.
It all looks pretty straightforward, Ryan, and well documented. As we, well, you'll probably talk about this in the audit update, but are you anticipating any surprises?
No. In fact, should we just
surprise? That's probably
no action. In fact, let's just cover that now, and then I don't need action on this. So let me give an update on the audit. We had our auditors in a couple of weeks ago, I think, and I'm not sure there were any findings for Fast Forward. I'm trying to think if Fast Forward had any. I don't think Fast Forward had any findings this year, which is good. So I think in the past we've had minor findings, pretty minor, budget compliance stuff that we've really tried to work on making sure we don't have that one. They tested student fees this year, and because we don't charge a student fee here, the testing on it was obviously very simple, which was good. But as far as there were no surprises, and you shouldn't have any there. I think the one thing that will kind of throw you back and be a little bit different is what Lynn and I just talked about, moving to GASB, where it's going to be just a little more, we're going to have to encompass that retirement piece, which is confusing and doesn't make sense, but we're going to have to do it. So yeah, overall, it was from the student membership audit to the financial audit. I think it went pretty well.
So on this financial review, the action that's required, is it simply receiving the report, or is it approving the substance and content of the report?
No, it's just that there's a non-voting item. It's just information only. And I think just the recording, and if you receive the information, it's always on our webpage too, so the public can take a look at it. We post this exact same report on the webpage. Alex does that with the recording of this plus the board minutes. So if anybody ever wants to look at that, they can see it as well. So this is a non-voting item, and same with just the audit update. It's just simply informational purposes.
That was my bad, Rich. I put it was an action item.
But it's really not.
Yeah. Sorry.
No.
Good. That moves us along.
Okay.
So no additional questions, anyone? No concerns? Are we all happy with the financial situation at Fast Forward? Yay.
Yep. Looks great.
All right.
Thank you.
See evidence of
Perfect. I'll go in there. You're good.
this is probably not the socially appropriate way to say it, but there are no dead horses in our budget. Right? Okay. Thank you very much. So Jill, we launch right into the policy updates items.
Oh, gads. I don't know if you guys had time to look through all those. Basically, the wonderful state school board sent us a list of items, policies basically that schools needed to adopt or update. And how many were there, Alex? Like 25-ish?
So yeah, there's 25 before the board right now today, with probably 5 still needing to be completed. So yeah, so we've put together some policies, and we've mirrored Cache County and Logan's. And a few of the policy, well, quite a few of the policies we already had, they just needed updating. But there's some just interesting policies through there the state would like us to have adopted. So Alex wonderfully kind of updated some things, put them together in a nice, easy to read packet for you. And we sent him out earlier this week. And we basically just need to adopt these policies. I don't know if anyone needs more time. We don't have to get them adopted today, but if anyone needs more time to look through them, or anyone has questions on them, I'm not going to cover each policy unless anybody's got questions on anything.
So let me ask you a couple of questions. Of the, I didn't count them, but it's a, as you say,
25.
number. How many of these policies did we have in place already?
Alex?
So we had, I'd say at least a third. There's some that as we were looking at the policies we had weren't as, didn't have a depth that the state board would like. So like a lot of our policies were combined into the teacher and student handbooks, depending on who they were directed towards. This is pulled out and individual policies, so we can actually put them up on a website and have it be like, you don't have to search through the student handbook to find up the discipline policy, or you don't have to look up the
Title IX stuff.
Yeah, Title IX discrimination stuff within the teacher handbook as well as the student handbook. So a lot of these policies are just breakouts from there with a little bit more depth that we found from Logan and Cache County.
I'm anticipating that most of these are going to be pretty standard policies, especially since they're patterned after policies that have already been approved in neighboring school districts. If anybody has any concerns, we probably ought to discuss them. But I'm wondering about the wisdom of just posting these on our website and inviting public comment, just to see what comes. Give everybody an opportunity to take a look at them, and if something raises, if someone raises a concern, then the board can come back and address it. Is that a sensible thing to do, or would that be unwise?
I think it's a sensible thing to do, but.
So are you saying, Richard, that we ought to wait to adopt them, or adopt them and then make changes if we need to?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Well, you gave me two choices, and I said yes to both of them. I'm a very non-committal guy. No,
Sounds to me like a politician. It just kind of makes me a little nervous with that answer.
Of course. No, I'm suggesting that we accept the recommendations of the administration and adopt these, and then post them and invite the public to weigh in on them. And if somebody comes up with something that we didn't anticipate, then we address it and perhaps revise it if necessary. But it just seems to me that it's going to take, we could slog through this and we could go, hey, even if we spent 10 minutes on each policy, we're going to be here until tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I don't mind doing that if it's worth it, but if these are in a sense kind of pro forma policies that are patterned after policies that have already been accepted and vetted in other places, it just seems to me to be unnecessary. But let's give the public an opportunity to weigh in on it, and maybe they'll find something we didn't.
Yeah.
I agree.
I think that's fine. I don't have a problem with it. As I looked through them, I couldn't see anything that jumped out that seemed inappropriate. They seemed good to me.
They're pretty straightforward, and
Yeah.
They are policies that, the policy is consistent with its title. So you don't, in other words, you don't say under use suicide and find a policy that is something completely unexpected. It's all the stuff fits.
Yeah.
I will point out there's really the school fees, number 5. That one's pretty unique to us. That's our policy because we don't have school fees. So that one's really unique to us. Our continuing number 6, policy number 6, FFCHS, the continuing enrollment, we adopted that. You guys adopted that as a board in spring 2020 when we had to come up with the new plan for how to account for students who are doing solely online. So a lot of them, like I said, you guys have adopted already. They've just been included in this kind of final form policy documents.
Yeah.
Is FF05 the school fees policy? Is that something new? We've had that before, haven't we?
So you guys adopted it last school year, the no fees for 2020.
Right.
And there was, prior to that, there was the fee schedule. So we had the breakout of the general school fee of $150 or $120 when a student would come in, or the school fees associated with classes. So that one was updated last year and it's just been carrying forward to this school year too.
So even the policies that are unique and different for Fast Forward compared to other schools are policies we've already reviewed and approved. Is there, Alex, is there anything in these policies that would be unusual, unexpected, dramatically different, anything we should be aware of?
No, like I said, the fee policy is probably the most unique to us, and it's only helps families. It's not like a blindside or gotcha type policy. So a lot of our discipline stuff too, there was a big push within these. So like we have to do an assurances, principals assurances every year. And these policies are going to be what's we're assuring at the end of this school year. So there's a big push for restorative justice, discipline principles and practices. So that's in there. Alternatives to suspension, that was a big thing too. What can you do to help educate rather than punish in certain when appropriate, right? Obviously, if there's like a fighting incident or a weapon in the school, like those don't constitute a non-suspension, but there's a big push to try and keep kids in school as much as you can and work with the education of why the behavior that the student got in trouble for is not appropriate.
Which we felt like we're kind of doing anyway, not
Yeah.
needing a policy necessarily, but
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to encourage her to sidestep its responsibility, but I also don't think it's necessary for us to spend a lot of time going over things we've already gone over and that have been approved at other times and elsewhere. So it does require action. So if there is,
I will make a motion that we accept the policies as we have read over. I guess we all read over them and approve them.
I will second the motion.
okay, wonderful. We have, it has been moved and seconded that we accept these policy statements as updated and provided to us. Any further questions or concerns? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. Those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
I
Opposed, if there are any? Okay, I believe the motion carries unanimously. And then you didn't mention in your motion anything, Lynn, about posting these publicly, but they're posted. I mean, that's something that we always do.
Yeah.
I don't think it's inappropriate for us to invite the public to comment if they would like to.
So do you want me to rephrase that?
I don't know that it actually, I mean,
I don't
that
think,
administrative action, I don't know that it
yeah,
requires.
I don't think we need to do that. It's just as a board, we adopt them and so they're in, but we can, but if we do get comments, then we can adjust whatever.
Yep. Well,
Thank you.
there we go. That was a big item that took a lot less time than I expected.
Now, when we come before you in a little bit with the 5 new policies we're still working on, those ones maybe we will want to because they will be brand new, but
a little
that
different.
will be a little bit longer for me to work on. So,
Okay, good. All right, I believe this takes us to the principal's report.
Okay. Well, I'll get started. This year has gotten off to a pretty good start. We've got waiting list of kids wanting to come here, which is great. We've got a really exciting new addition to our team here at Fast Forward. We have a federal grant that we partner with CAPSA on for a mental health professional in our school, which I know Janice, one of our late board members, would be super excited about, and I think she was excited about. But our social worker that we had hired, she had a baby, and she and her husband moved to Salt Lake. So we were looking for a replacement for her, and we found a wonderful applicant. His name's Thomas, and he is a licensed psychologist and licensed school counselor. So we hired a wonderful addition to our team who was a doctor. Anyway, and he can also, he got a school psychology licensure, I think, because we decided we could refer some of our special ed referrals as they come up. We've traditionally had to outsource that. And now we can keep it in-house, and he can help do some testing for some of our special ed referrals. So
I think that's wonderful, Jill. I've been
Yeah.
thinking a lot about Janice and how she pushed for mental evaluations and how
Yeah.
that could be a conflict.
mhm.
And I was wondering how much training your teachers have in the mental health area, particularly with fetal alcohol syndrome, because I'll bet it affects a lot of the students that are at Fast Forward.
Yeah.
So will he be conducting some training for the teachers?
Yes, he will actually start. We're going to do parent trainings monthly. Well, every 6 weeks during parent teacher conferences for parents that are interested in attending. But he's also going to do staff, faculty and staff training starting in October. So we're pretty excited to have him on board, and he is such a blessing to our team. He's done some home visits this week of kids we haven't seen, who's had some attendance problems already. Anyway, we're pretty blessed to have him as part of our team. So
His
Yeah,
his meetings. Oh, sorry, Teresa.
that's okay. I just
His
said
meetings and
Go ahead, Alex.
sorry. His meetings and trainings will also be recorded and posted, so parents who miss it and want the opportunity to watch it can have that. So
That'll be great.
Wonderful.
So it's pretty important right now. I'm not sure if you guys are aware, there was a student at Green Canyon who just committed suicide last night, I think.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so I don't have a lot of information yet. He was a member, it was a male who's a member of the football team. So we're glad that we have good qualified help available here at the school, and we've offered assistance to Green Canyon as well. So anyway,
That's terrible.
yeah, pretty sad. Anyway, yeah, that's kind of my report right now. We're off to a good start. We're excited to get going on the school year, have some neat things we're going to be doing this year. We're offering a credit recovery opportunity for students on Friday. So Friday is an open campus day where kids can come in and get help with any of their classes. But we also have given them, we're creating the opportunity for students that are behind on credit to come to the school on Fridays and participate in credit recovery programs. So we've had such a high interest in our program here. We're trying to come up with some ways that we can actually include other kids from other schools that are interested in kind of taking part of this credit recovery
This
opportunity on
is
Fridays.
open to all students.
Yeah, so we're working, right now it's for our kids, but we're, as a team, as our faculty, we're trying to figure out a way to open it to kids in the valley that might need to use this, use what we're putting
That would be
together. So
wonderful.
yeah,
Yeah.
so So that's kind of an exciting piece of what we're doing right now, and we've been excited to get it going. And our teachers are right now in the stages, and they're putting their credit recovery option, credit recovery projects together. And we have got a few classes up and running right now with the entirety, hopefully by the end of the school year. So each term we're asking teachers to have another class ready to roll out. So anyway, it's kind of an exciting time. So we don't, what has happened traditionally is students that are behind on credit, they do their best during the day, but they're still really short credit wise. So they have lots of tests to take or extra classes to make up. And so this is more of a project-based learning where students can come and do it in a different way. And we still have all those options, but we're trying to get students caught up before, next spring when graduation rolls around. So we're really trying to target our, dropout rate and help kids get finished before, the week
Ahead
before
of time.
graduation. So,
I'm
yeah.
so excited about that. That's great.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. So I don't know. Do you guys have any questions on anything?
No.
Thank you very much. That, the tragedy at Green Canyon points out to all of us the challenge that young people experience in today's world. And I'm so grateful to you for being proactive in planning and thinking about ways in which we can address the needs of young people and perhaps avoid some of these tragedies. I don't know how to say it other than it is a tragedy. And if we can in some way strengthen young people, both at Fast Forward and at other schools, inoculate them a little bit, so to speak, so that they are less at risk for these tragic situations, I think that's great. And thank you very much. I'm going to take the liberty, you don't need to do anything with it, but as I read through the policy on restorative justice and so forth, I wrote something a few years ago, and I'm going to send it your way. It includes a couple of measurement pieces and some structure. Should you choose to use it to create a program for a specific program for restorative justice and multi-tiered systems of support, feel free to use it. And if I can help in any way, wonderful. If you think it's unnecessary, then don't even bother to print it out and download it. So, but it'll be there to consider at least.
Yeah, that'll be great.
All right. Anything else from the board?
No.
I have
Well, let me simply express appreciation to you folks at the school for what you are doing. Every day I appreciate more and more the challenge it is for young people in today's world to navigate through adolescence. And I'm not sure it gets any better when they're in full adulthood, because
Amen.
I'm navigating through senior adulthood, and I don't think it's all that much fun either. So I'm not sure it gets any better, but it's nice for our younger people to have you folks as their advocates and mentors. let me express appreciation. And I'm just sad that I don't have a grandchild at the school this year. I'm gonna,
Oh, man.
I'm trying to recruit a few, but it's
Nothing yet, huh?
nothing yet. But thank you very much for all
Well,
you've
give
done.
your cute granddaughter a hug from us. Hopefully she's doing well.
I'll do it, and she is, and in large measure due to your efforts. So thank you.
Oh, my goodness. Yes, she's a good girl. Okay.
Well, hearing no clamor for an extension to this meeting, I think maybe we bring it to a close. Any objection? I don't hear any objection. If I had my gavel with me, I'd pound it on the table and say, meeting adjourned. But how about if I just say, thank you all, meeting adjourned.
Until next time.
Thank you.